Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. How y'all doing? Did you miss me? I missed you guys. Hope you're having a wonderful night as we have Walter Bosley coming on a little bit later in the show. He's going to be about 10, 15 minutes late, and then he will join us to talk about UFOs, the disclosure movement, everything that is happening so far in the UFO world. Dirty Filth is here as he is here for his nightly cartoon as well. Hi, I'm tired. Not going to lie. I'm a little tired, but I'm not tired enough to say hello to all of you as Stephanie Kenny Blankenship gets her first gold medal tonight. Race fan with a silver. Millennium, a man, taking home the bronze. Michael Morris, how you doing, buddy? Good to be back. And B. Roy Boy, Dogface Simon, Pam Harris, thank you so much for kicking off the super chat tonight. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, so thank you so much. Les Paul Holland, how are you? Good to have you here. And Lisa C., thank you for joining us. And let's continue on here. Luscious Jules is here. Luscious Jules will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Human Carl, a great veteran of the United States Air Force. How you doing, buddy? And there's Mama Catherine. Mwah. Love you, my dear. And who else do we have here? We have Third Rock. Preacher's back. Yep, Preacher's going to be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio for the Preacher, to the right of the studio. Jessica. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Continuing on, we have, let's see. Jenny White Bear, we love you, dear. Zen One, what's happening? Dave Walters, hope you're doing okay with the forest fires around there, buddy. I've been thinking about you. Gizmo, my man. Paramarv, how are you guys doing? And Tim Mothman, how's the goatee? Please give us an update. W. David Page, nice to see you. Richard Elmore, thanks for coming on in. And Nick Adkins, Area 51, good to have you both here. And Christine Lynn, Allison Singh, Android, good to have you here. Hi, Monica and Sandra Kincaid. Thank you for joining us. Ozzy, how's it going down there? Baby UFO, Susan Alloway, Mark Sanchez. Thank you for coming on in, JSCO. What's happening? Some secrets got to remain, man. Oh, Lars Janssen, he's wearing number 26 tonight, starting at left wing from Stockholm, Sweden. Thomas Rock, super crazy. Good to have you both here. Science Melinda, thank you for joining us. And let's see here. Pix, what's happening? Thank you for joining us. Just another guy named Harry. Always a pleasure to have you here. Let's get the radio side started. Ian McFadden, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. And Mama Susan, good to see you. Noodles, thanks for coming on in. And let's see here. Phil the Stalker, thank you. Dutch UFO, good to see you. Pixie Lara, thank you for coming on in. We got a lot of you so far, so thank you so much, guys. The super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis as well. If you're not following us on social media, please do so on Instagram, on Twitter, and give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways. If you haven't already, hit subscribe here. That helps us out with our algorithms as well. The store is open, spacedoutradio.com. Go get your swag. Peter Thorgerson, how you doing, man? And Vanessa, Sir Grizz, good to see you. Penman, Malia, thank you for coming on in. Let's do this thing. I'm ready. Hi, Bill WD-40, and horns up. Ready? Let's rock. Mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us, will you, at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bubblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show lined up for you tonight. Very soon, in a few minutes, Walter Bosley is going to join us as he's running just a few minutes late to get to his computer to join us for some UFO talk. And especially, this is a big, big week when it comes to the next UFO hearings in just a couple of days' time. Then in hour number 3, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing will be here to bring us a brand new story. Filling in for the traveling little Timmy Senor on the UFO report, Terry Hall and his power handlebar mustache will join us for the latest in the UFO news. So, some of you are wondering, hey, where was Dave the other night? Where was he? Well, a lot of it, I got to keep quiet because, in our field, there's all these NDAs that are around. And so what I can tell you is our good friend, little Timmy Senor, our resident Timbit, well, he tried his first Tim Hortons, ice cap, and actual Timbits. Yes, he did. And it was a great weekend. Merle from the Paranormal Road Trippers was up here. Samantha Mowat was up here as well. And it was a good time that we had in researching some of the extracurricular activities, shall we say, when it comes to what's going on in my area of British Columbia. Now, we started off in the forest, and we went looking for Bigfoot. I can't say what happened, but I will say this. If everything goes as planned in the next few months, you guys are going to be blowing your minds out. Blowing your minds out. We got chased by ghosts. We got weird voices in the forests. We were investigating a museum that literally scared the daylights out of us. It was a grand old time. And, it was old school because how many times do you get to spend with real friends these days doing what you love? And it's very, very rare in my life that I actually get to do that because my schedule is just way hectic. And, how can I put it? it was something that made a lot of change in who I am. I didn't realize that I was that, how can I put it? That freaked out about everything that is going on in the weird and strange. And I'm going to have to leave it that vague. I do apologize. You know, I love to tell you guys everything, but this time Dave has to keep a secret because there is some incredible things happening. And hopefully, just hopefully, I'm pretty confident things will work out where all of you will get to see it as well. Now, it's time to bring in our guest of the night. Walter Bosley is here with his patented red headphones, chewing on, I'm going to say, some sort of pastry or coffee.
A lemon drop.
A lemon drop. Those are very nice. Hey, let me just explain who you are to our audience, Walt. Walter Bosley spent nearly 20 years in U.S. national security and has now been a specialty publisher approaching 20 years. His first nonfiction book was an investigation into the esoteric engineering of Disneyland, and he has since written several more about things like the occult, serial murders, airships, MKULTRA in the U.S. Air Force, lost cities, breakaway civilizations, and everything UFO. The one thing that I really trust about Walter, and the reason why I wanted to bring him in for this conversation a couple days before we end up going into the next congressional hearings on UFOs, is because he's a straight shooter, he's a straight thinker, and he's someone who looks at both sides of the ledger before making an opinion on what's going on. And Walter Bosley, thank you for being a good friend of Spaced Out Radio. It is always a pleasure to have you on our show.
Well, thanks for having me back. I like being here talking with you guys.
I got to ask you, my friend, I mean, you know, everything that's coming up this week, everything that's kind of built up to this, is this a make or break week for Congressman Tim Burchett? And the reason why I ask that, he has been very blustery over the last couple of years about the UFO phenomena. He has been very loud. Whether you like his politics or not is irrelevant, but he's been very loud about what disclosure should look like. And he's been talking a very, very tough game. And normally when politicians act tough, in my opinion, what I've seen over the years, they seem to fold when the game is underway. So is this a make or break week for Tim Burchett?
I think as far as the community is concerned, yeah, I would think, you know, particularly the people that really are, you know, wanting disclosure and are having faith that he and others, you know, in Congress can make that happen. Yeah, I think it's make or break in that respect, because if he fizzles out, if he doesn't deliver, you know, they're going to lose their faith in him. Now, you know me, I really doubt that these shows that the occasional congressman will put on are really going to bring about disclosure. Because here's the thing: how long has Burchett been in Congress? I'm not sure how long he's been there, but however long it is, he hasn't been there long enough, and he's not powerful enough to be really spearheading the kind of effort it would take for a congressional push to make this happen. If a congressional push can make it happen. Remember, folks, we are dealing with what? The biggest classified secret, right? I mean, we can suppose that. I think it's fair to say that, you know, to the extent that the U.S. government knows, or any government, you know, knows what the truth is about if we're alone or not, it's likely the biggest secret in that nation's history and the biggest secret going, because, right, the phenomenally colossal weight of that whole issue, you know, it if it doesn't change everything about our life on Earth, it certainly to some degree affects everything about our life on Earth. So when you look at it in that context, We haven't had the kind of disclosure that we're all talking about, okay, that people want, despite what some wishful thinkers have thought since 2017. We haven't even had a small disclosure. What we've had is a lot of game playing and perception management, controlling the narrative. But we haven't had the real disclosure for how many decades now? We're going on a century, right? You know, another 24 years, and we'll be at a century since Roswell. And, you know, a lot of people mark that as the beginning of the lid, the real lid on the secrecy. So there hasn't been a Congress yet, least of all a single congressman who has made this happen. So, you know, I don't have much faith that this is going to change anything. But as far as the community's faith in the sincerity of any members of Congress for the cause, yeah, it's his turn now to deliver or disappoint. And so we'll have to see what he does.
Well, one of the things that concerns me about it, Walter,
Mm-hmm.
is he said going into this that there was going to be bombshell testimony coming out of this,
Mm-hmm.
and that he was going to make sure that the public got it.
Right.
I think he's going to learn very fast
Mm-hmm.
that he's not allowed to talk about what happens behind closed doors.
Right.
And he's going to fall into every other politician way where they're going to say, you can't say this, you can't say that, you can't list this, you can't list that.
Right.
And whether or not he buys it or whether or not he does, we're going to learn. Does he really have the cojones, if we could use that word,
Mm-hmm.
to break the ice, get the conversation going, tell the truth?
Well, it'll be really cool if he does, because that'd be great to see, right? Make the popcorn. This is going to be a show. I don't think that's likely. And what I predict is suddenly, maybe by the end of this week, you know, or if the hearings kind of fizzle, what you're going to get out of him, if he's not going to really go for it to the wall, what you're going to get out of him is suddenly there's a more dire situation that he has to focus his attention on. But he'll get back to, he's still got all the UFO community in mind, and he's not giving up, and he'll get back to it. I predict we'll see something like that, like he, you know, some national security situation or something with the economy, you name it, the kinds of things that politicians, you know, furrow their brows and get serious about, and pivot to when they've fizzled out on the thing they've been serious about, you know, up to that point. So that's what I predict that we'll see. So we'll just have to see.
I don't want to sound negative, and I know you are not wanting to sound negative on this subject either.
Right.
But the way Tim Burchett has talked, and now the way Congresswoman Luna, pardon me, is talking just as tough about being thrown rocks at by the U.S. Air Force, by the Navy, and that it's time that the representatives start standing up for the people instead of the military-industrial complex. I found that very brazen talk from an elected official. We don't see a lot of that anymore. You know, how much, in your opinion, is this maybe the first real internet lifetime public battle between the military-industrial complex and those who are voted in by the people for the people?
Well, the downside, the hard, cold truth of that is our military industrial complex as we know it has been around since, you know, the end of World War II. And we had one outgoing president who was the 5-star Allied commander who warned us about it. Carefully, he warned us about it on his way out of office. The next president after him was willing to take them on, and look what happened to him. And anybody who really seriously takes that on, they've been cut off, deflated, derailed, or, eliminated in some way. The wind's been taken out of their sails. Okay. The military industrial complex is a thing that's been around, again, like Roswell and disclosure as a subject, almost 100 years. And it's very, very powerful. And a lot of people's wealth is at stake. So a congressman who may only be in office as short as 2 years, depending upon if they screw up in the House that bad. I think being in the House, it's like being an officer in the military. You got to really screw up to not make captain. Because at the 4-year mark, you've either screwed up completely or you make captain, pretty much. But with congressmen, even so, a congressman is around if they have, they can be 20 years in Congress and retire, or in some of the cases, with some of these wackos, they can be in for what, 40, 50, 60 years. Okay. Well, during those years, they've been to some degree, again, deflated, or they get compromised, So the military industrial complex knows its game. The people behind it, the vision that helped build it, okay, they were playing that game for a very long time, and they taught us how to play it, and they've been pulling the strings in our version of the game. And so they can be more patient. They can wait out because they know that a congressman is either going to lose steam, get their attention diverted, have so many things, irons in the fire that they can just play the waiting game. They can find ways to convince said congressman or congresswoman to back off a little bit. So they have the advantage in that regard because congressmen are political animals. They do have to be concerned about getting reelected. And despite it, this is important to us, people like us, but to 100% of the people who vote out there, this interest of ours is a small percentage. Most Americans that are going to vote for these people are much more concerned about other things like the economy and such. So if they see their congressman or congresswoman expending a lot of energy on something like ET disclosure, UFOs and stuff like that, that might get them not reelected. So again, these are the factors that the military industrial complex, most of the time they can just wait it out. They can just stay silent and ignore them because they know that the natural course of things, that congressman or congresswoman is going to have to lay off that subject, to pay attention to other things. Or they can buy them out one way or another. Or if they keep pushing it, they are willing to do bad things to stop it as well. So that's my perspective.
I think that's a fantastic answer. We got about 5 minutes to go here before we have to go to break. At the bottom of the hour, Walter Bosley is our guest tonight. Walter, here's the way I look at it, okay? And tell me if this is true. If the military gets a little bit, or the defense military industrial complex gets a little bit too upset with Burchett, how realistic would it be a closed door meeting saying, I'd really hate it if 700 people at the tank manufacturing plant lost their jobs to a moving from, as we're going to move that plant from Tennessee over to Georgia, or those F-117, or pardon me, those F-35 helmets, they're going to be made in Washington State now. How realistic is that?
That is probably one of the most realistic possibilities. That's what I'm talking about. Hit them where it's going to hurt them with the votes. If they get jobs lost in their district or their state because they're pushing for what many, I would say more Americans than not, think is a fringe topic, they're going to be really not happy with that congressman, and they're going to vote him or her out. So that would get any congressman's attention, obviously, because they don't want to be the one that's known for, losing jobs over something that, most people consider a fringe thing. You and I don't. I mean, again, we're going back to what would be the biggest revelation, in human history, confirmation that we are not alone on this planet. From the ET perspective, we haven't even addressed the other possibilities of somewhere else, So yeah, that's very realistic. They would threaten them where it hurts, hit the pocketbooks of their constituents, and lose them votes. So that would be, I would say, probably one of the first things that the military-industrial complex would do to a congressman.
Right. So how do you expect this to play out then when it comes to the hearings this week?
How do I personally expect it to play out? There's going to be some posturing. There's going to be lackluster testimony, as it's going to turn out. And it's going to turn out like all the other things do. People are getting excited. They think this is going to be different. This is the one. This is the time. And this will turn out to not be the one. This is not the time. I just don't see it happening.
I don't see it happening either. And like I said, I think this is the one where if Burchett fails to deliver any new information, not that sightings have gone up on reports, we don't want that. But he's been talking tough about Roswell. He's talked tough about crash retrievals. He's talked tough about aliens. He's talked tough on a lot of subjects that maybe or maybe not he's been privy to information. And if he backs down on that, I think that ufology takes a giant step backwards. Because even though, whether you're a Republican, Libertarian, or a Democrat, you may not like his politics, but it's resonating with what you're saying, what he's saying about, if we're going to do disclosure, let's do disclosure correctly, or don't do it at all.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, one thing has popped up in my mind on this. The one possible way of many that are possible, that I certainly could be wrong, would be if, for whatever reason, they need to game the disclosure in a certain way where, and this is wild, this is just off the wall, they pulled him aside and they said, we want to begin actual disclosure, but we want it to look like it's coming through, a congressional, insistence, blah, blah, blah. Mr. Burchett, you're our guy. So we're going to encourage you, do the blah, 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 blah. And we want to release this through the effort you're spearheading. Now, that sounds like gaming. That sounds like a fantasy situation, but all of these possibilities could sound like, a fantasy situation. You do have to consider them, but I sincerely doubt that. I have my personal opinions about how, in a practical way, disclosure will actually happen, and it's not going to be through a short timer. Compared to the military-industrial complex, a short timer who happens to be in Congress demanding it.
Excellent. So when you look at it and you look at everything, I want to hit you up in the next half hour about the giant exhale punch to the gut that many of us felt when he released the list of who the witnesses would be. And Commander David Fravor and Ryan Graves, former U.S. Air Force pilot, and David Grush, whose secondhand testimony is lighting things up. Walter Bosley, author, researcher, former intelligence dude, always has a great beard, high and tight here on Spaced Out Radio. We love him around here. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Hey, I got to go grab some water. I'll be right back.
Yeah, you do that. We got 5 minutes. Hi, Data. How are you? I know all of you are kind of mad at me because of I can't say much right now. But I'm going to tell you, I had a great time this weekend. And, yep. Android, it's a tough question. I'm going to answer that in hour 2. I'm going to mark that, okay? Hi, MM3. How you doing? Nina Williams, good to see you. Scrolling through here. Yeah, Android, I don't want you to think I'm dodging it. I'm going to give it time for hour 2, okay? Because I'd like to get Walter's opinion on that too. Hope you don't mind. You know what? It wasn't really time off. We were working. Joe's Main. You've got aliens. We were working and we put in, let's see, Friday night, we were out until 2:00, got back to my place at about 3, up until about 4. Rob G, how you doing? Noble Patrick, Bad Cop, how you doing? Saturday night, it was I think we got home at 2, and then finally got to bed about 3. Charles Kerr, thank you. And then last night, we shot until about 12:30. And then I had to get up for work in the morning. I think I got to bed about 2:30 last night. I just couldn't keep my eyes open anymore. Not a young man anymore. It was a blast.
Oh.
It was a total blast. Michael Morris, I love it though. Tokeland, how you doing? That's a radio habit. Then I go like this now, and I massage my sinuses to open them up.
I figured I'd use my this is a Canadian hobby shop or whatever.
Oh,
one of my subscribers, I have several subscribers who send me model kits and model kit tools, and he sent me this from Shaver's Hobbies up in Canada somewhere. Shaver and Hobbies, BC, right? Yeah. Home of your favorite hobbies. So
nice.
We're still on the break, right?
Yeah, we're still on the break. Neil Ward, how you doing, buddy? Oh, I'm just talking to the chat room.
Oh. That's right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. That was a nice commercial there that you just cut. Oh, it was a nice promo there.
Let's see. How many?
Philip Blair, what's happening?
Oh, Philip's here. Hey, Philip.
What do you mean we're still live on YouTube? Of course we are, man. We just started.
I know Malia's in there somewhere. And
yeah, Malia's in here. Is it Malia or Malia?
It's Malia.
Okay. I want to say a big thank you to Pam H, Deb, Mike, Catherine. That's Mama Catherine. Vaughn, Android, Louie, Eric, and Charles for the great super chats. Thank you so much for the love and support. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways. It all helps with the algorithms. And if you're new, hit subscribe. Here we go with the second half hour. Second half hour, Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora, as they say, a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Here we go with our good friend Walter Bosley coming on in, talking about leading up to the latest and greatest congressional hearings on UFOs. You can find Walter's books on Amazon and Google. He is one of the most brilliant people when it comes to covering both sides of the story. I know, Walter, I know that seems to be BS, but it's true. It's true. And thank you, my man, for joining us once again. We really do appreciate it.
It's great to be here. I enjoy talking with you guys, hanging out.
Now, as we were talking right before the break, Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett this week will hold the next set of UFO hearings in Washington, D.C. And he said he was going to blow the lid off of this story. Time to open up the doors. Time to get the vaults cracked open. And who does he come with? He comes in with the story we've heard since 2016, 2017. Commander David Fravor in the 2004 Nimitz incident. And then in 2017, Ryan Graves, who never saw anything with his own eyes, but did see these weird cubes on his F-16's radar, saying that they were there almost every day. We got him, which coincidentally, he is now the head of a group of former fighter pilots who are advocating for UFO transparency. And then we have the new rock star in the game, former U.S. Air Force major, I believe, and now whistleblower David Grush. Your thoughts on this panel, and who would you have chosen?
Not any of them. David Fravor, I've said it before, I think here and everywhere else. I saw the typical fighter pilot jock, machismo nonsense when he said, if it were our technology, I'd know it. No, squadron commander, you're not briefed in on everything, particularly stuff that would be cutting edge technology still being tested and developed. I'm sorry, but he knows that. I think I think that he knows that going in, because I think he's playing his role, in doing a good job. Perception management, controlling the narrative, so to speak. But as far as, because come on, since he's come out, more and more people now have accepted the fact that the Tic Tac is not what it was being purported to be, and it is very likely very human technology, and that is very likely indeed ours. There's so many reasons to accept that as a possibility. So I don't know. There he is on there. He doesn't belong on there to accomplish what Burchett says they're trying to accomplish. Same thing with Graves. He never saw an object, but he saw something on his radar. Well, come on. This technology is designed to look like something that, he didn't see anything, but likely, technology designed to look like it did on his radar. Okay. And then Grush. where do we begin with Grush? He admits that he got all this secondhand. He himself, has never seen any of this. I forget their names. I apologize, but the guys who do the body language analysis, there's 4 of them. I recommend everybody check that out. They watched all, I guess, 7 hours of the interview with this guy, with Grush, and they don't always agree on the subject of UFOs and, this, that, and the other, but they were all unanimous that this guy was full of crap, that there's no way. He was showing so many indicators, the body language of deception and not being the real deal. I think that they're on the panel simply because they're easy to access. They're military guys, right? Military officers who, I hate to be cynical, but any one, if not all 3 of them, could have aspirations for running for office. And of course, being paraded in front of, this committee, this hearing or whatever, is attention. It's some spotlight. The body language guy said Grush, with his background in theater, is really just wanting attention. That's how they broke down, what his psyche appears to them, is he's this guy who loves the attention. So this is this right here. These 3 ought to tell you where this hearing is headed to, a big nothing.
On the flip side, I'm a fan of Grush's. I am. I know people with military careers who have vetted him, said he's a very honorable man who is, fights for what's right.
Sure.
Okay. It's the other 2 that make no sense to me. And that's no offense to the amazing careers of Ryan Graves or David Fravor.
Right. Yeah. As I mean, come on, David Fravor's a United States Navy, aviator squadron commander. Okay. As far as being a pilot, yeah, the guy is outstanding. Of course.
My issue is their stories are old.
Yeah.
We've heard their stories. CNN, Fox News, New York Times, every television show, and now, even certain UFO conferences have heard David Fravor's story. Ryan Graves, because he's a damn good looking guy, there isn't a camera that doesn't love the way his gorgeous face looks on TV, as well as he's an incredible public speaker.
Right.
So that works too. Yeah. But if we're trying to move it along, I'm really surprised that there's no scientists on board. Go ahead.
The selection of those 3, in my opinion, my most honest opinion, is that's by design. Okay. Basically, here's who you get, the 3 military guys. Now, I absolutely agree with you. No scientists at all. I mean, no people independent of the military industrial complex, who are the people that have the biggest reason in this to control the narrative. Okay. Who have used, and in my opinion, continue to use, the whole UFO subject for their perception management strategies, and this is why people shouldn't be excited that anything good, or productive is going to come out of this, because you're up against a military industrial complex and your witnesses are just a little too military industrial complex. Now you could say, well, if they're true whistleblowers, that's what we need. The people inside, talking about what's inside on the outside, but these guys aren't going to do that. Like what you pointed out, the sources vouching for Grush's. I think Grush is absolutely doing a job he was assigned to do. This is what, again, the body language guys and other people have suggested, is that that's what they're seeing, is that he's playing a role, and his role could be, as a good former active duty intelligence officer, continuing to do his part as a good soldier, good airman, as we say in the Air Force, to advance, the cause of national defense.
And I can see where you think that, considering, especially with Grush, considering everything that he stated in the Ross Coulthart interview. And I thought Ross asked very tough, poignant questions. Okay. I look at that, Walter, and I say, okay, the way he answered them,
Mm-hmm.
nobody has talked about full intact craft that we
Mm-hmm.
could be in possession of, but more so, nobody's talked bodies until him. And everything, I'm saying witnesses. Okay. Yes, other people and authors have talked about the bodies.
But
Go
he
ahead.
hasn't witnessed it himself.
No, he has not. No, he is not. That's the downfall. That's the downfall. But the point is, he's brought it to the media table. Okay.
Sure, but it's been brought to the media table before. That's one of my nitpicks with the ufology in general. All this is, I mean, my God, Bob Lazar is being taken seriously again. When 20 years ago it was pretty much pointed out what a fraud he is. And so things are just cycling because what we have is a new generation of people that don't know their history and don't want to know the history of it. But this kind of thing has been brought up before, has been laid on the table before, and it goes nowhere. And it's being brought up again to a new generation who just doesn't realize that it's been done before. And admittedly, at least with the U.S. government, yeah, what I see going on is they've changed their game. They realize, oh, wait a minute, what we need are more guys from the military, from the intelligence community. I've retired and now I'm going to talk. And here's the new thing they're doing to us. If you notice, when Grush's star fades, there's going to be another guy. Someone said there's already another guy on the scene. What they've been doing is hitting us rapid fire. Oh, you don't like Lou? Well, here's Ramirez. You don't like him? Well, here's that guy. And then, well, here's that guy. And here's Graves. Oh, and here's Grush. And then there will be another one. And they're just hitting the community faster than they can honestly think and assess what they're being hit with. So human nature is people are going to say, well, I accept what this guy says, and then it's on to the next one. The current guy isn't around long enough to be scrutinized long enough. And that's by design.
So you think this is a giant ploy?
Yeah.
Okay, if you were then to have the Walter Bosley hearings,
mm-hmm.
Who's your three?
Oh.
I'll give you mine afterwards.
Okay. Yeah. My three would be people with credentials that you've never heard about. That's what I would seek out. I would seek out the true whistleblower who was willing to understand what the risk is. Okay. And the risk, part of the risk is your life. Okay. These people, they'll either destroy your reputation, destroy you, materially in some way, destroy you socially, or, if you're willing to reveal certain amounts, they'll physically destroy you. But my thing would be people whose credentials you could prove, who have not been in the spotlight or on the scene, that boom, there they are, and whom would be a surprise to the people on the committee. The people you're presenting in this hearing to. I would find the people that it would truly be breaking news in, the mainstream media, such as they are. It would truly be, oh, wow. Okay. But that's not what's going on.
Would you do somebody like the head of Lockheed Skunk Works?
Yeah. If they're now, remember, this all depends on, they're going to do it. They're going to throw caution to the wind. They're going to take that big risk of upsetting their own personal life and the lives of their families and stuff by really, really, really doing the real thing, the real revelation, the real disclosure. But yeah, because that kind of person, as you described, and historically we know why, most people understand why you would have, someone like that, is because the people in technology of the military industrial complex, particularly someone like that, they're going to know something. But they have to be willing to truly risk everything.
What do you think?
And excuse me, they also have to present incontrovertible evidence. It has to be, everybody is just by the sight of it, is convinced, oh shoot, this is the real deal.
Okay, what is that evidence?
Well, the obvious would be someone from another world showing up with them, the evidence would be an actual, here's a craft, not here's a piece of something that some guy who knew a guy, had for 30 years and now he's given it to me, or like in the, 50 years after an event, oh, look, I found a piece of metal that was off that flying saucer that nobody's, no, it would have to be one of the crashed vehicles put on display right there for the world to see, right there in the congressional chamber, and, or parked out on the lawn or whatever, and the TV cameras and everything. It's going to have to be startlingly, but I can't talk tonight for some reason. Convincing evidence, the real.
No, I understand where you're going with that, and I would agree with that. I think for me, if we use names that we know,
Mm-hmm.
I would really like to see Lou Elizondo, because whether or not, if he is BSing, because there is the side who believes that he's a plant, then there is the side who believes that he's the real deal. Okay.
Oh, okay. So you're saying from the perspective that, there would also be the questioning, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I see your point. Yes. Having someone like Lou Elizondo on there to be grilled by a congressman, I like that too. And these three that are on there need to be grilled also. Okay.
Absolutely. I don't think they're strong enough, though. I think it's a safe bet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think since the Wilson Davis documents have been entered as evidence, why not bring McCaslin up there?
Yeah.
Okay. If he's got nothing to hide, should have no problem speaking on this.
Yeah.
That would be two for me. And my third one would have nothing to do with the military. I want Bill, what's his name, from NASA. Why can't I think of the head of NASA, Bill Nelson?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I want him to come on board in front of Congress, even though NASA said thanks, but no thanks. I want him on that board to say, you're the one who opened up the door for NASA getting into this. Yeah. Why haven't you checked your closets?
Yeah.
We've already got the proof from the astronauts on recording. Tell me about it, Bill. Why are you lying right now? Those are my three.
Oh, when you mentioned the docks, the Wilson docks, why not have Admiral Wilson himself? Right?
Sure.
Because, he's, whether he likes it or not, he's kind of at the center of, that whole narrative. Have him up there so that people can hear what he has to say, without it being through the filter of the people who have a stake in pushing the Wilson docks, But, the head of NASA would be, I think, an obvious choice, right? And of course, like you said, it's no way, no thanks, because there you go. To me, that's because, these are the guys that know part of the answer. Because I think what you're talking about, we all know about compartmentalization, right? That's, you only know a little piece of the elephant. Okay. And I think that that's what we're dealing with, are people who, now there are some people who know enough pieces of the elephant, or the piece they know is really significant, so they are more aware to a greater degree of what is to be disclosed. But you have people who actually might have been exposed to pieces and not really fully understand what they've been exposed to. That what they've been exposed to is not something that's just a technological thing. It's a technological thing that may not be ours, but the context in which it was presented to them was to camouflage, So you've got all these people, and certainly the director of NASA, in my opinion, would have to be one of those, government bureaucrats, the high-ranking bureaucrats, who pretty much, if they didn't know it before being selected to be head of NASA, then here you go. Guess what you get to know as being head of this space agency, which, by the way, a lot of people don't realize, even a lot of Americans don't know this. NASA is a Department of Defense agency.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And yes, it is part of the defense, and they're playing the game as well.
Yeah.
And I am surprised, and I know I haven't talked about it in holy cow, maybe a month now, but I'm still surprised nobody has called NASA and that insult that they called a hearing on their UAP findings. I'm really surprised they haven't been called out for their BS.
And that's part of what I said before with the rapid fire. The thing is, they build the the UFO interested public up for an upcoming hearing, right? Everyone says this is it. It turns out to not be it. Turns out to fizzle out. And before anybody can do what you suggested, really say, hey, wait a minute, that was a huge disappointment. Somebody has already thrown out the next thing for them to be excited about. So they divert everyone's critical thinking onto the next shiny thing so that they get most of the public to just not do the analysis and be on to that. Yeah, that turned out to be nothing, but this thing over here, this is going to be the real deal. And it ends up being nothing. And this is a strategy. This is being done to us as a community. This is being consciously done to us. These hearings that result in nothing, one right after the other. The insider witness thing, one right after the other. Oh, you don't believe this guy? Here's that guy. Oh, you don't believe that guy? Here's the next guy, and on down the road. And they can have these people identified, a year or two in advance. And how do they? You notice what a lot of these people have in common is they're retired. They're no longer on active duty. Well, they can still be paid, they can still be contracted to be involved in this as a retiree. I mean, everybody knows that tons of retirees just, they retire from the military on Friday, and on Monday morning they're reporting as a civilian contractor. So that's a very common thing. And I've tried to point that out from the beginning. Hey, if these people are, just recently retired military, you got to consider that they're now contractors in the DoD's intelligence structure. But people don't want to hear that. No, we don't want to hear it. So, okay.
Walter, in reading comments, you always seem to light a fire under people who are tuned in, and it's happening again, which is no surprise here. Why do you think, people are so against people who are asking questions? I see it with you. I see it with Michael Huntington. I don't see it. I think it's different for people like Stephen Greenstreet and John Greenwald right now from the Black Vault. I think it's a little bit different, but there seems to be a problem with asking those tough questions in order to get that info on the inside. You got 30 seconds for that.
Sometimes there's no way to say this without it seeming condescending to somebody out there. But, most children don't like when they're told there's no Santa Claus. People don't, they want to believe something so hard. And then when they're told, hey, that's not likely the reality, their initial reaction is to lash out and throw a tantrum. And that's really the most honest way to put it in 30 seconds.
Well, we'll continue that talk, and then I'm going to hit you up with some questions. Our audience is going to hit you up with some questions. Good friend of Spaced Out Radio's, Walter Bosley, author, researcher. You can get his books on Google and Amazon. Stay tuned. More UFO talk leading into the next set of congressional hearings right after this. We'll be right back. All right, buddy, we are in the clear. I'm going to put you in the back. I'm going to take a quick break here, and I'll be right back. Dirty, are you still here? You hanging out?
Oh,
Tell everybody where they can find your book, my man. Here's your infomercial time.
Oh, yeah. You can go to filthy.com, FYLTHY.com, and you can get a copy for yourself and buy one for your mom, too. And you can even buy a third one and save it so you can sell it later on. 9 whiskeys. I wish I had 9 whiskeys. Ooh, sweet potato salad. Also, I'll have another calendar coming out around Christmas time, which is also available at filthy.com. And my second book is almost complete as well. Hi, Super Duke. Scariest paranormal experience. Well, Justin, I don't really have any scary paranormal experiences. I have seen the same ghost twice. It was at my friend's. And first time I woke up in the middle of the night, I had to go to the washroom. And I thought my friend was staying in the same room. And I thought I seen him get up, sit up in the bed, and walk to the bathroom. And I waited about 10 minutes before I fell back asleep. And in the morning, I said, "Hey, Fraser, what were you doing? You were in there for a while." He goes, "I didn't get up. It was probably the ghost." And I didn't believe him. And then a couple months later, I was staying there again. And the same thing happened in the living room. I thought I seen him get up off the bed or off the couch and walk to the washroom. And I just thought, hey, that's that ghost he was telling me about. That's it. It was interesting when it walked because it just, when it's nighttime or dark and you can see someone in a dark room, they kind of look fuzzy, grayish. And he just looked like he was walking, but he didn't have the gait. You know, so when walks, they kind of bounce. He just kind of floated and walked normally. It was interesting. Yeah, it wasn't really scary, though. I mean, if it was a ghost with like a hatchet or something coming after me, I'd probably soil myself. Have to get a change of shorts, but luckily it wasn't that. Good night, Digger Dog. Have a good night. I hope they just come out on Wednesday and they just go, "Hate to break it to everybody, but we got aliens. Here's like 4 different ones." And they just like parade 480 aliens come in there and everybody just goes ballistic. And yeah, that'd be pretty cool to see. A lot of times there apparently is lights that are near big feet. I don't know if that's the proper wording. My friend, she lived in Star, Alberta, and she was young. Her and her sister were at home one day, and they heard this big crash on the side of the house. And they thought that somebody had driven into the side of the house. And her and her sister went to the front door and looked out the window and said there was a tall, pale Sasquatch and a short, pale Sasquatch, like white albino color, walking down their driveway. JSCO Blob is currently piled up with Mrs. Filth. I believe they're watching cartoons of some sort. It's really hot here. All the cats are like 95% liquid at the time. "40 miles in an instant." Yes, it was a tall and short Sasquatch with white hair.
Hey, Dirty.
Hi, Dave. I was regaling people with stories.
Well, you're a regaling kind of guy. By the way, we had a vote this weekend, Dirty. We had a vote, and it's foyer, not foyer.
No.
Yeah, it's... Sorry.
No, I'm going to go cry now. Okay, have a good night, gentlemen.
All right. All right, let's say hello to who's just joined us. Super Duke. Lex Diaz, how you doing? And who else do we have in here now? Patricia Giselli, welcome back. And scrolling on up. I think we're caught up. Do us a favor if you haven't already. Hit that like and subscribe, and we'd appreciate it. Ring the bell. We're here 7 days a week for your listening entertainment. And after the show, give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways, or right now, whatever you feel we deserve. It helps with our algorithms. Leave a comment afterwards. Let us know what you think. We want your opinion around here. It helps. And thank you to our super chatters tonight. And we have, let's see here. Oh, let's see. Pam Harris, Debster, Mike, Catherine, Mama Catherine, that is, Von Patrick, Android, Forrest Louis, The Preacher, and Charles Kerr, Forrest Louis, W. Decker, and Thomas Fessler. Thank you so much. Here we go, everyone.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Eclegme. Eclegme is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Here we go. Walter Bosley, author, researcher, former government agent, coming in to talk about what's happening this week in the UFO world when it comes to the latest hearings that'll happen about UFOs, congressional hearings taking part. The leader, Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett, who is the leader of the pack when it comes to talking tough about trying to bring full disclosure to the unit. Now, Walter, you are somebody who is, you're the rain on the parade a little bit here. I mean, and when I say that, I'm not saying that to be insultive or anything like that, but I mean, there is a reality here that the UFO world is used to being let down. Yeah. What would you like to see come out of these hearings? We're not going to get full disclosure, but what would Walter Bosley like to see this as a successful type of hearing?
We either get legitimate disclosure or it's a waste of time. It's the very people who are bothered that are being they're being led around by these kinds of hearings. The hearings that are anything short of true, legitimate disclosure or revelation they're just being gamed. Now someone like me, it's interesting. These guys, you can pull out Lou Elizondo, David Fravor, Grush. There's a lot of people that think, Grush is the real thing. And I know that because he's the latest one, right? There hasn't been reason to shoot him down. Well, they come out of essentially the same world I come out of. And because they're saying the things some people in the community want to hear, they're great guys. They're great guys. Someone like me, when I say what they don't want to hear, I'm a narcissist. I'm too condescending. And it's like, no, I just happen to be telling you what you don't want to hear, because here's the thing. There's going to be nothing better, nothing more spectacular than the truth. Okay. Are we not in this for the truth? So, at some point when you've been involved with, when you've been a criminal investigator, for example, and any kind of, investigator like that, what are you after? You're after the truth. Anything else is BS, or it's just leads to that will, in a roundabout way, might get you there, but not usually. So you get used to, and finding the truth. When you do find the truth of things, that's pretty powerful stuff. So it gives you a faith in, we're looking for the truth. Anything else is a waste of time. And that's what I'm looking for. They need to either put up or shut up with these things, because if they're not putting up, all they're doing is leading all you folks astray. And people don't always like to hear that. They want to hear that what they're throwing their belief in is going to be the real thing. But time and time again, they're not given the real thing. They're drawn in, right, with the carrot on the fishing line, and they're disappointed. So I think one of the best ways to start getting towards the truth is start ignoring what the intel community, what the military industrial complex, what all these people who we think, or we may know, these people who are keeping the truth from us, stop accepting what they appear to be giving us. You will get their attention. Start, just try it as an exercise. The community could try this as, they throw out the next grush, and just say, not interested. They'll wonder.
You do have empathy, though, for people who have had the ultimate experience and just want answers.
You and I both have seen UFOs. One of the most startling, I said it right. One of the most startling experiences I've ever had in my life, and I've had a lot of weird ones, was the UFO I saw on the 10th of December, 2014. Folks, I believe these things are real. I've seen one. I totally have empathy, but and the thing is, you want the truth, you want to know what the disclosure. I'm on your side with that, but let's all be grown-ups and cut the BS with the wishful thinking and the wanting to believe everything, every piece of candy that's dangled on the string. You gotta getting to the truth is it requires a certain level of, you got to be determined. There's going to be a certain level of sacrifice. What do I mean by that? Being willing to sacrifice your preconceived notions, being willing to sacrifice the feel-good belief, okay? The thing, and being willing to maybe sacrifice whatever your pet theory is, okay? You have to be able to step outside of all that stuff. And part of stepping outside of all that stuff is being willing to talk openly and admit and hear other people say, that could be nonsense, and it's not saying, I'm not trying to say, oh, that could be nonsense and you're all a bunch of idiots, even though I reserve the right to say there are, in any community, every community has its idiots and we have our share. Okay. But what I'm saying is, you have to be grown up and mature enough intellectually to be able to have a conversation, step outside your emotion, and admit that, gosh, the thing I really want it to be may not be. And that's the first step in really going after the truth. Because guess what? You might come around and the thing you really want it to be, and it doesn't look like it is, could turn out to be somewhat partially the truth. But in the getting there, you got to be willing to, admit to yourself that your pet theory, just may not be the truth, because it's all, you got to serve the objective pursuit of it. And we're being gamed. Okay. They throw stuff at us as a diversion. Oh, look at this over here, because they don't want you looking over there. Okay. And that's a figure of speech. I've had people take me, literally, and I've had people interpret that as, oh, he's trying to get you to not look at the real thing. I'm like, no, I just said the opposite. But remember those idiots that I mentioned? But it's you have to consider that what's being presented to you, even if you're told, oh, these are the real people, this is the real deal, you got to question that. You have to be willing to be critical of even your own pet theories.
I have one more question before we're going to get into some audience questions here.
Mm-hmm.
And that question is this.
Mm-hmm.
In your estimation, is the U.S. government playing games on this because they are afraid of the potential lawsuits, the potential for people getting fired, people getting charged maybe as high as treason regarding the cover-up of this subject? Because I imagine this, and this is just a theory of mine.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm American and I find out that my name is on a list for MKUltra, or they know I'm an alien abductee, they know how many times I've been taken, etc., I'm going to be some pissed that my government didn't protect me.
Yes, you are going to be angry, unhappy about that. But they are going to be protected under the blanket of national security. They had to keep it secret. They for to some degree they couldn't be sure, or even if they're sure, and even if there is a solid case where somebody could, say, hey, you guys, they'll pay them off. I mean, I want you to think about this. Most people, they might see themselves as a big hero for the truth or whatever. A lot of people, I don't want to say most people because I'm not that cynical. A lot of people, though, think about it. If they're just average, working folks or poor, or something, and, the government comes to them and says, we will make you comfortable for the rest of your life. Your kids and grandchildren will be comfortable for the rest of their lives. They will not have to worry about a thing financially, whatever. There's a lot of people that are going to go for that. And, so look, in the espionage world, okay, there's a lot of reasons why people commit espionage against their country, right? You know what Americans are most famous for? Their distinction. Americans are known around the world among the hostile intelligence forces, services, okay, as the one people on earth who will betray their country for the money. Okay, America, others, the Russians, the Chinese, it's ideology, it's, whoever, it's ideology. Americans, they'll do it for the money. So, it's a very strong human thing that, the suit, it'd be like, we'll pay you more than you could sue us for because we just want you to keep your mouth shut about it. And they'd be willing to do that. But the rest of it, okay, that's in the cases that would be absolutely, they could do it. The rest of it, I'm telling you, they're going to say, hey, we had a potential invader from another world. Okay, we had to shelter until we knew the assessment, we knew what was going on and so forth, or whatever. Or you go back to, maybe they made one of those nefarious agreements with them, and then they go back to, let us pay you off, let us make you comfortable. So yeah, to answer your question around the long way around the barn, is I do think that they are protecting something, and it could also involve people coming down with various illnesses and stuff because of exposure to dangerous technologies like radiant technologies or something. It could be stuff like that too, not just the real fantastical stuff. But I hope that kind of answered the question.
All right, let's get to some audience questions here.
Okay.
Let's start off with Android here.
Mm-hmm.
You aren't impressed with the Senate legislation, Dave? I'm going to say this. I think they could push it so far, but in the end, there is no bloody way any law right now is going to push the United States military out of the way in order for truth on UFOs.
Right.
I just don't see it happening. That is why I have always said that we are in a confirmation movement, not in a disclosure movement.
Okay.
What's your thoughts?
I was looking at that when you would say that. I was looking at that differently, but I see from that angle. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I'm going to say you have kind of a right track there, because here's something that I think NASA's been doing for years. For years now, these what appear to be artifacts on the moon and then Mars, right? I'm in that camp. I'm not the only one who thinks this, but I really suspect, again, I could be wrong. I suspect that these are artifacts that NASA has been letting us see, the relics, the remnants of a very old civilization that was destroyed on Mars. And yeah, we're not crazy. We are seeing these things because down the road, when that is disclosed, they can say, what do you mean hiding it from you? We've been releasing these photos all along. Some people recognized it for what it was. I think they're kind of playing a game like that, which is kind of in the vein of confirmation.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I really do. And let's go to JSCO. What about the handwriting analysts? He asked that when you were talking about the people looking into David Grush's body language.
What's the handwriting analysis that's been done?
I'm not sure. We'll get more on that. I know he's in the chat room listening, so we'll get more on that. Okay. All right, let's move on to Ian. Who would you fire in, Dave? Well, I said my three. I said McCaslin. I said Elizondo. And I said Bill Nelson. But we never got your three, Walt.
Because again, my ideal three are people none of us know their names. They haven't, they're not out there yet. I question the ones who are out there, folks. Sorry. I think we're being gamed with the people that are offered to us. I was chief of the counter-espionage operations branch. That's another way of saying double agentry. Okay. I was in the business of provocations, we call them, dangling people. Oh, look, this guy's, wanting to work for you and benefit you and stuff. And they're not, they're double agents. Okay. They're fronting for a strategy. It's a tactic. It's, and in a way, I think that's how I see it. I see them as they're just good airmen. And don't get me wrong. Whatever objective they're serving might be prelude to a world conflict that we might find ourselves in here in the next 5 to 10 years, kind of a perception management lead up, and we'll discover that they have been exemplary military personnel doing their part in what may turn out to have been a very necessary thing. But that I don't put it past them to game the UFO community and play with the UFO community in order to achieve the objectives for something like that. That's all I'm saying.
Do you believe, before we get to more audience questions, that there is a disinformation campaign going on within the UFO community to, maybe stifle some of these talks and to make people question or get erratic on places like Twitter or now X? Do you think that there is a disinformation campaign going on about it? And why would that be?
Again, perception management. You want to manage the perception either of your enemy, your adversary, or the public so that, their attention doesn't inadvertently uncover something. Case in point, take the old secret space program conferences going back to, I think, 2013, definitely 14 and 15. Okay. These were researchers who were very down to earth researchers. You had Catherine Austin Fitts really diving into that, what was it, that 2.3 trillion or 20 trillion or whatever that was revealed to the public as missing on September 11th. Or September 10th, 2001, the day before the attack. These were and Paul LaViolette and Joseph Farrell and the others who they were looking at actual aerospace programs. They were looking at government money trail. They were looking at a true is our government, our military industrial complex, running a classified manned space program? Okay, well, they were making headway. each year at that event, the audiences were growing. They were more and more talking about, hey, let's look at this seriously. Well, funny thing was, in 2015, suddenly we get the good old UFO community media, certain people in the media, pushing the likes of Corey Good and these other bozos and clowns making nonsense up, and heavily SSP, secret space program, secret space program, secret space program. What I see from my perspective absolutely is a manipulation of people in the community to push certain people in the spotlight to make something look less credible, so that they'll quit paying attention to the credible discussion and focus on the stuff that's not credible, like blue avians and all that nonsense. And, the time jumping, the Randy Kramers and the Andrew Bessie, because that just totally took over the spotlight from the legitimate research and secret space program. Why? I think, and I was there at 2 of them watching, in the audience, the crowd. I'm telling you, there were military intel personnel in that audience at those events. Okay. I recognize these guys when I see them. I know how they operate. I know how they look, even in their civilian attire. And, I think a number was done on the legitimate discussion. Okay. And it was diverted with the nonsense crap that unfortunately a lot of people wanted to hear. And one of the main voices in that has, very recently been revealed to admit in court that he made it all up, that it was just IP, and still there's people that believe him, so this is just one example of what I'm talking about, how they manipulate the hell out of this community. And you've got these diehard people that just fold their arms across their chest and say, I don't believe it. I want to believe what they're saying. How do we, this guy, he's just another OSI agent. He's just like Rick Doty, a guy who I've never met. I've talked with in Facebook Messenger once for 20 minutes. And who, when I became an OSI agent and was doing some, a particular case thing, I was warned, this is Rick Doty. Don't be like Rick Doty. Okay. He was a cautionary tale when I was in OSI. That was dating back to 94.
Why?
What?
Why?
Because of the Benowitz debacle, which in his defense, everybody just points out Doty's, handling of that situation. Everybody points out William Moore. Everybody points out the fact the Air Force was involved. Everybody seems to overlook the NSA's role in that. And when you look closely, an honest look at that Benowitz case, you see that the stuff that pushed Benowitz over the edge, that drove him nuts, that's NSA. That's the fruit of the NSA tree. And yet they skate. OSI takes all the, and I know for a fact from being on the inside that OSI, they smacked Doty, a little harder than, a smack on the hand, but, he got in a little hot water because the stuff that happened in that was not something OSI wanted to happen, and certainly not the Air Force. But nobody wants to believe that. They would rather believe that, that the Air
Blue
Force
avians are out there?
What's that?
That blue avians are out there?
There are people still in this community that would rather believe that than that it was all made up and IP, even when the source of it admits it in public record that it was all made up. They just, it's a stubbornness.
Yes, and let's remember that was finally admitted in court.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
He's never been to space. He's never been at 20 and back. He's never met aliens. There's no blue avians.
And when I and a few others started to point that out to people back in 2015 and 2016, oh, you don't know. You're a jerk. Okay.
Well, let's stick it with Walter Bosley, the UFO jerk, coming up for another half an hour here on Spaced Out Radio. We're having a lot of fun tonight. Your questions continue next half hour. Stay tuned. All right. It's the last time you were face to face with an alien. So what do you say there, Walter?
Yeah. I'm just
You have a
looking
good-
at the comments.
You have a good weekend?
Yeah. Yeah. How about you?
Lack of sleep.
Are you guys? I had that last night. Are you guys having the heat wave we are? Or are you escaping that? I hope.
No, we got a little bit of one, but today we got some rain.
Yeah. I'd like to have some of that.
Today we it's nice and cool and not as warm, but the good part about it is, it's really weird because everywhere around us is burning, and my area
Yeah.
for once is not burning, which is nice.
Yeah, good.
So,
Oh, great.
That's always fun when there's, we've had a few days of forest fire smoke, depending on which way the wind is blowing.
That probably caused some of your rain too, right?
We just had an 8-year-old boy die of an asthma attack in my community.
Oh, Jesus.
Due to forest fire smoke. Yeah, they had a big funeral for him at the hockey arena just on Saturday.
That's sorry to hear that. That's terrible.
Yeah, that sucks. That really sucks.
Now, are these is the causal factor natural, or I hope to God none of them are arson?
The majority are nature, lightning storm.
Okay.
Which happen, every year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you like, it's easy to blame the climate and climate change because it's the popular thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But what a lot of people don't understand is when it comes to lumber and forests, a lot of those forests need to be logged because prior to man getting here, they would burn.
Yep.
Okay. And when we started relying on wood, but then when you throw in all of the tariffs that need to be paid, the lumber industry, due to environmental culture, is shrinking. There's more jobs in the lumber industry than anywhere, but they have no place to send the wood right now.
Yeah.
Okay, the lumber industry going down. That's why we're having so many super fires, is because a lot of these areas would usually be logged by now.
Yeah.
Right?
And instead, well-meaning fools are just wreaking havoc.
Yeah, don't even get me into the electric car bullshit. But
yeah. I saw, Malia and I, we shake our heads. We I don't know if you see these, but and I know a couple people that have them and they love them, but I don't know. There's something to me about seeing a little hatchback that looks non-distinct from any other car out there that goes past me, and it's got the Ford Mustang logo on it. That just doesn't match. I just, something doesn't go right there.
You know what? Our area, it's funny. Our area has seen an increase because I live in the forest. Saw a major increase in people going down to the coast and buying Teslas.
Okay.
And now they're all trying to trade them in because Teslas don't work very well in a winter environment.
Oh no, I didn't thought of that. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was talking to a buddy of mine in the car business about Teslas the other day. I don't know how it is down there, but up here, let's say you buy an $80,000 Tesla, $70,000 Tesla, and in a year you don't like it, so you trade it in. Let's say there's 8,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
You want to trade it in. nobody can give you a value of that vehicle because everybody is afraid to touch the vehicle because they don't know about the battery.
Oh,
How
yeah.
long is the battery going to last?
Yeah. So
And
that's affecting seriously the resale. Right?
resale value. So he was telling me I got to be quick here. He was telling me one client bought a Tesla with negative equity for
Mhm.
82,000
Mhm.
6 months ago. Car's worth 58. Here we go. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Let's get to audience questions here with Walter Bosley, author, researcher, former government agent, talking everything UFOs. And Walter, we're going to step right in to the audience questions here. And let's go to Neil here, who is asking, if the president cannot visit Area 51, why will disclosure happen to the general public?
Okay. The president of the United States can and always has been able to visit Area 51, okay, or whatever the Area 51 equivalent is. That is simply something that people believe that which is not true. It's ludicrous. So I just want to set that straight. It makes absolutely zero sense. But, I think disclosure, I think those who we want disclosed, I see it more as they're eventually going to disclose themselves. They're not going to care what our government or any government on this planet, when the day comes that they want to be known. I really do think they're part of driving the secrecy. They don't want to be openly known yet, because if they did, they would just show up. They wouldn't care, Now, maybe people could argue, well, there's the diplomatic argument. Certainly they would send their diplomatic envoys. And if a people of of that particular world said, hey, you're going to freak out our people, then I guess you could argue that they might get into some type of diplomatic agreement, which I think it's perfectly reasonable to, think that, or propose that we're likely in one or more of those. But, personally, I think, you have to consider that when they're ready to disclose themselves, they'll basically tell our leaders, it's time. But now it's time. The people of your world need to know about us, and you've had your fun controlling them, but that time's over. So, as long as a government is wielding any kind of power or influence by having that info and keeping it secret, it will remain secret no matter how loud the people scream for it to be otherwise. That's the world we live in.
Good answer. Let's go to Mr. Toothbrush here. Why would you risk prison to tell a story for any type of whistleblower?
Why what was he referring to someone in particular? Because he said he, or just general?
When you were talking earlier about, the people who you would choose, they haven't even been named yet. They're public. People don't know who they are. You don't even know who they are. They are the ones who you would like. And he's asking, or Toothbrush is asking, why risk prison to tell a story?
I'll tell you exactly why someone like that would do that. Because they see the truth about this issue the same way you see it. And they believe that it is more important for you to know than it is for them to feel comfortable. There are people like that in the world. Okay. I mean, we know there's people who will risk their lives in dangerous jobs. Okay. Why do they do it? Because they have this sense of it's the right thing to do. So that's why there have been people before who look at who comes to mind is like Alexander Solzhenitsyn, right? He was off in the Russian prisons because of the stuff he was saying and writing, and he did it. He risked that. I mean, come on, look at all the people we consider great people, and what they've risked, to do what they thought was right. That's the answer right there, is because they respect you. They respect, your desire for the truth on this, and they agree with you. So.
All right, let's continue on. The demon wants to know, what is true disclosure?
Well, I think that's obvious. Just flat out it being revealed. Hey, folks, in this particular case, what we're talking about here within our context, there are people from other planets. They've been coming here. They still come here. This is who they are, and this is everything we know about them. Here it is. Come look at the spaceship. We're going to introduce you to you're going to watch that's true disclosure.
I got that. All right. Let's get to some more here. Let's go to JSCO. Have you ever seen one of these things?
Yeah, I said that, about an hour ago on the night of the 10th of December in 2014. I had, you mean like one of the things that like the government has or whatever? In my government capacity? Just a UFO. Yeah, just a UFO. Yeah, I mean, that was my personal experience with one. My personal thought is it had nothing to do with extraterrestrials, per se, I guess you could add on there. It had a lot to do with some other very strange things I had been investigating. And in one particular thing that I had gone out and investigated that very day. But what I'm getting at is something that, in my opinion, and many people would say is just is equally extraordinary as extraterrestrials would be. But either way, whatever the source is, whether it was secret technology that drifted over from, the former Norton Air Force Base here, which they call San Bernardino International Airport, if it was some secret, whatever it was a genuine UFO experience. I mean, I was like, if you were to hear the audio on the tape, I can't repeat exactly what I was saying, but it was holy, whoa. I mean, I was like, whoa, whoa. It was because it's like, Dave, I think you've talked about it. I'm getting goosebumps telling you guys about it because it was exciting. It was, whoa. But even in that, I first thing I thought was run in and get the camera, and it stayed there, and I've got it, on camera. And one of the reasons why I don't push my personal UFO experience as something that should be out there and studied or whatever is because I'm one of the many thousands or more who I got no evidence, but mostly my testimony and the images I captured. Guess what? Me and the other witness were looking at this thing. It was a lot closer. We were seeing details on it, and I'll be damned if all my camera caught was one little spot of light, and when the stuff dropped out of it, just more spots of light dropping off. It was as if the camera pushed it farther away and would not capture it clearly. So I don't have good evidence. Other than that, I could show you, and it's not, proper convincing evidence, and my testimony. And I'm critical on myself in that I would not put that forth as an exemplary case that, okay, you should believe me and all this stuff just because, what I saw, because my evidence isn't strong enough to make that case. But
Walter Bosley is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Let's go to Thomas. What do you think the truth is, Walter?
Within the context of UFOs, for example, I think it's mostly classified human technology. It is a percentage of extraterrestrials from advanced civilization, from other planets, other star systems, galaxies, traveling here as they have for a long time and continue to do so. I think there is something interdimensional going on. I think it's all of these. I think also this ties somehow to the human psyche in some ways. It doesn't make it less real. I'm not saying the human psyche is an imagination. I'm saying something that manifests from something to do with the power of our psyches. Okay, so in my it's all these things are the answers to the UFO mystery, in my opinion.
That's really cool. Okay, let's move on here. Let's go to Neil. Are phaser guns real?
I hope so. That'd be cool. You know, I mean, I think we're working towards that, right? I mean, they've already started developing those laser rifles for infantry. I mean, you know, so phaser guns should be, you know, coming next, I guess, down the road. You know, just something else to make warfare even nastier. And, you know, although some would argue that that's cleaner, right? I don't know.
I don't know either. I really don't know. Okay, let's go to the next question here. Let's go to Android, who is asking, Walter, do you realize you're alleging a bigger conspiracy than the 400-person bigot list from the Wilson Davis doc?
Yeah, probably, but so what? So what? You know, if you get into that, it's again the compartmentalization, and nobody factors in. You know, everybody says we need the whistleblower to see how obviously evil it is that they're keeping secrets. The overwhelming majority of people, you know, particularly in the military and stuff, working on these projects, okay, they know they're going to know more about it than any of us. Okay, so they're working for the benefit of having more facts. Okay, obviously, those facts that they know, the truth that they know, that's the big factor in determining their personal opinion if they're doing something righteous or not. And when you're in the military or you're, you know, working, you know, as a civilian in certain things or whatever, and you're brought on board a very special project, you're proud of that. You're one of the few who get to work in something like that. So you're the kind of person that you're not going to run your mouth about it. You're not going to feel like, oh, the people really need to know about all of this just because. I mean, these people don't think like that. Okay, they're not going to. I mean, the stuff I worked in, you know, it's like I'm proud of the fact that I was selected for certain things that I, you know, still can't talk about, you know, in the operational world, because I know more about it than the people hearing me right now, you know, unless some of my former colleagues are out there. And so I know that it was a righteous cause and what it was really about. So of course I'm not going to spill details that I shouldn't. So, and you're talking hundreds of people, okay, involved in those efforts. So it's people slap the conspiracy label on there when actually it's, you know, there's a difference between a conspiracy and a program or an operation. Okay.
Right.
Big difference, folks. They might look like each other. They might have resemblances, but there's a difference.
All right, let's move on here. Let's go to Peter. What do you think about Kevin Knuth or Avi Loeb or Gary Nolan?
Well, Loeb and Nolan, in my opinion, they're just all part of that greater, the greater TTSA milieu. And it's again, it was all part of that 2017 perception management push. I don't think much about them. I mean, really? Loeb might be more sincere, you know, than Nolan, but yeah.
See, I see it the other way around.
It's okay.
I totally do. I see Loeb being someone who wants that Nobel Prize.
Well, there is that bit about Loeb. Yeah, I would agree.
And he will step on any toes to get there.
Yeah.
He really will.
But ruthlessness is not necessarily insincerity. You know? I guess it's Nolan to me is maybe I'm being hard on him. I think they're tainted by that being part of that whole milieu, you know, that whole era, that 2017 to, you know, up to whatever.
Right. Okay, let's move it on here. Let's go to the preacher. Was Rick Doty used as a scapegoat?
That's a good question. Yeah, and I wouldn't. He could have been. He could have been. And here's why you have to consider that. He continued with a career and then again, you know, got involved with things that might indicate that he wasn't in such trouble as, you know, could be indicated. But I doubt it was one of those things where it's like, okay, Rick, you're going to be our scapegoat, so be prepared to take a lot of crap and you know, I doubt it was like, okay, I'm doing my duty. No, I think he because he worked in the same program that I worked in with the counter-espionage ops, so I intimately know the rules of that. I do think he pushed the rules and probably did violate some regulations or push them a lot closer than he should have, and a lot farther than what the Air Force is comfortable with, certainly OSI Command. So I think it was one of those, okay, you really stepped on it, you're in hot water. And then behind the scenes, it was like, okay, we're gonna let Doty take all this so that we can divert it off of, you know. I definitely think Doty is used as a scapegoat, certainly by or for the benefit of NSA. Folks, in my opinion, you know, I've been good friends with Greg Bishop for years. You know, he wrote the book Project Beta. I've had a lot of personal talks with him over this. I've read his book more than once, and I still stand by the fact the NSA are the bad guys in the Benowitz affair. If you think it's just Doty and just OSI, you need to look at it again, because the NSA is sliding in its culpability in that.
All right, let's go with super crazy. Do you think Bigfoot and his cryptid friends are real?
Yeah, I think this whole cryptid thing has some reality, you know, to it. I think there's something to Bigfoot. It's going to be somewhere between the really wild stuff, you know, like the interdimensional being stuff. I'm not saying that's not possible, because you just heard me say I think there are interdimensionals involved in the UFO thing. But I think where we're going to land on Bigfoot for the most part is somewhere between that real wild end of the spectrum on Bigfoot and what the silverback gorilla, if you recall, up until the late 19th or early 20th centuries, they thought it was like some you know, abominable snowman Bigfoot type of, you know, creature, until somebody realized, oh, hey, wait a minute, it's this breed of ape that we didn't know existed, this breed of gorilla that we didn't know existed. So it's going to be somewhere between that. You know, it's going to be, I think, when they finally, you know, can prove the existence of Bigfoot, you know, as it's been reported. So yeah, I definitely think there's something to that. It's not my expertise, so that's why I don't talk much about it.
All right, let's get to a few more questions as time is winding down. We got 5 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
Mama Catherine is asking, what do you know about something big happening in 2027?
In sports, in politics, in what? In the arts?
The whole disclosure thing is allegedly something big is supposed to happen in 27.
And what is the source? Yeah, what is the source of that in a nutshell? Where does that come from? Is that someone out there claiming this, or is this like a thing that's been out there?
Just a thing that's been out there.
Is it like something's going to happen in 2012 kind of thing?
I think you can probably put that spin on it.
Okay, then until I learn more, I don't think much about it, because it sounds to me like another one of those get people focused on a year down the road, so they're not paying attention to what's happening here and now, like Yoda told Luke Skywalker in The Empire Strikes Back.
I hear you. All right. Philip wants to know, will we live to see academia set free to investigate the UFOs we've been recording for thousands of years without having cranks claim that 15th century UFOs are time travel tech from 2020's China?
Philip, how dare you insult the time travel possibility? That's one of my favorites. No, I see your point. You have a very good point. I have two thoughts on that. Officially, in our times, no, we won't, from the perspective of the way official academia runs their thing. Okay. However, you know what? Academicians, these professors, they're actually free to just do this anyway, in spite of, their colleagues who just want the status quo to prevail and want to control things. So they could run a little revolution and just, a mutiny, and just say, you know what? Screw you guys. We're going to seriously look at this, and we're just going to start reporting directly. And, you guys that like the status quo in academia can go pound sand. So they can do that at any time. They can do that at any time. So what are they waiting for?
Who knows? We're waiting for you to come on their side. Let's go to Doug Shelby. The Doug Shelby is asking, why is SETI only interested in extraterrestrials with intelligence?
That's a good point. Shouldn't we also be looking for basic levels of life, like, insect type level? And I mean, I do believe they are looking for that kind of thing, right? Bacterial level and stuff like that. But SETI, I think it's in the name, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, right? Isn't that what the acronym means?
Yes.
So if you're doing the search for leather rugby balls, you're not going to be out there searching for rubber basketballs, right? You're looking for leather rugby balls. So
right.
It's in the name.
We got under 2 minutes to go. 3 questions from the UK. Tony wants to know, Walter, what's your thoughts about one or all of the 5 eyes being dragged into the hearings?
Okay, what are the 5 eyes? I'm not hip.
It's U.S., Canada, Great Britain, France, or not France, because they lose everything, Australia, and New Zealand.
I'm still trying to... Why are they called the 5 eyes?
It's a defense. It's like a giant NORAD.
Oh, okay. It would be great, if I'm assuming this question is from the perspective of how come they're not being, dragged into it. Well, first of all, who's putting on the hearings? The U.S. Congress, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you would think at the very least we could get our own officials, right, in this. Instead, we're being handed what we're being handed. So it's there. It's because they do not intend to be, they are not going, folks, the people who have the things you want disclosed, the government people, when they have no intention of revealing that or disclosing it until they're ready to. And until they're ready to, ain't going to happen. I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm not saying that's great and wonderful. I'm saying that's just the way it is. So that should tell you right there. That should tell you right there. The hearings have no meaning to these people. The hearings have no weight. Nothing's going to come of it. Nothing substantial.
And on that note, Walter, we got to say goodnight to you. Thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio again. We'll see later this week what happens at the UFO hearings. Coming up next, we're going to head to Steve Stockton. Then Terry Hall filling in for little Timmy Senor on the UFO report. We'll be right back right after this message. Stay tuned.
cool, Dave. Thanks.
Thanks,
for having
buddy.
me on
Always
again.
appreciate when you're here.
Okay, thanks for having me on. I look forward to doing this again.
We definitely will, my friend. We
And I gotta
definitely-
have you on over at my channel. So let's talk about making that happen.
Anytime, buddy.
Alrighty,
Anything for you.
cool. Alrighty, have a good night.
Take care, brother. Take care. All right, Walter Bosley, everybody. I will be right back. All right. Good times. Good times. And there's Uncle Terry and his gorgeous goatee. And he's in the chat room there, hiding away. Ha ha. Hey, it's little Robbie G. What's going on, sweet Robbie G? Love the Robbie G's chin hair, man. Makes me happy. All right. Let us say thank you to Mike, Louie ×2, Thomas, W. Decker, Andrew, Pam H. Deb, Eric, Mike, Charles, Mama Catherine, and Von Patrick for the super chats. Thank you to everybody who's given us a thumbs up, thumbs down. High Cliff Psy. Here we go with hour 3.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live at KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Eclegme. Eclegme is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is that time of the night where we head over to Among the Missing, where Steve Stockton has another spooky story for us.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. Connie Converse. Born Elizabeth Eaton Converse, August 4, 1924 in Laconia, New Hampshire, Connie was raised by religiously strict parents in a time that was difficult for women to break through into professional music careers. Converse would win a college scholarship, but would never even finish high school, choosing instead to pack up and move to New York. Being exposed to the counterculture of the Bohemians and the Beatniks in the 1950s, Converse started her music career in the exclusive Greenwich Village, New York scene. In 1974, Connie Converse would go missing, and her disappearance would become as much of an enigma as much of her life was. In 1954, a friend of Converse helped her record her first set of songs in the kitchen of their home. Working for a printing firm at the time, Converse was passionate about her music and would later be attributed as the first modern singer-songwriter. Arguably, some of the most hauntingly beautiful songs of the time, her acoustic sound and sophistication of melodies were done with ease and set her apart from other folk performers in that era, such as Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie. Not known as the strongest vocalist or the best instrument player, Converse was, however, able to deliver an intimacy and depth in her music that wouldn't be duplicated again for decades. She sang about arguing lovers, promiscuity, loneliness, and other life events that were taboo for a lady to even speak of in those times, let alone sing about. These songs came from somewhere deep within Converse, almost like she'd lived them. Maybe she had. There was a hurt and vulnerability in her voice that came out through the words and catches the listener right in the feelings. The friend that helped her record her songs would later say, "The more I thought about it, the songs were all about herself." After leaving music behind, Converse would go on to edit the Journal of Conflict Resolution, did amateur cartoon drawings, and was a very vocal political activist. After the recording of that first demo in the kitchen and trying to make a go of her music career, Converse became depressed because the songs weren't being picked up by any producers or radio stations. This is where her life would take a major turn. To deal with the depression she was encountering, Converse would turn to drinking heavily. Her depression never receded and seemed to be relentless. Decades after recording her first song, Connie Converse would finally get the recognition and admiration for her music she so desperately sought in the 1950s. In 2009, a small New York label would come across her recordings and produce an album called How Sad, How Lonely. The music, considering when it was recorded, sounds eerily contemporary. David Herman of Squirrel Thing Records said of Converse's music. He would go on to say, "Her voice is really compelling." Add that to the fact this was a woman writing singer-songwriter style music in the mid-50s, before being a singer-songwriter was even a thing, and before a female singer-songwriter was something that people were used to. Add that with the mystery of her disappearance, the whole thing leaves you with more questions than answers. There would also be a 40-minute documentary by American filmmaker Andrea Kahns dedicated to the rediscovery of Connie Converse at the Sensoria Film and Music Festival that was played on Connie Converse Tribute Night. Connie would also find a cult following decades after she gave up on her music career. People are still drawn to her folk style and her adult contemporary lyrics and sound. With the release of her songs and the documentary, Connie Converse finally has some of the spotlight she envisioned so many decades ago. In the summer of 1974, and just days before her 50th birthday, Connie Converse wrote friends and family to let them know of her plans to leave her Michigan home and start fresh somewhere else. Her plans were only known to her as she packed her belongings in her VW Beetle and drove off into the night. She hasn't been seen nor heard from since.
Oh, those stories are just eerie. How people could just vanish. Thank you, Steve Stockton, from Among the Missing, and the great work you do bringing these cases to light. Yeah, if you want more, just head on over to youtube.com/Among the Missing and make it happen. Hit that subscribe button and you can hear all the stories all the time. All right, from the missing to the skies above, from the beautiful state of Oregon. Filling in for the little Timmy Senor, here is Terry Hall.
Nobody's gonna know.
They're gonna know.
What is happening, my man, Terry Hall? It is always good to see you. How
Well,
you
it's good to see you too, sir. How have you been?
Oh, Dave's a little tired. Dave is a little tired, but you know what? I have something that in just a couple of seconds that I'm going to play here. You know, I'll just play it right here for you. And hopefully our audience will be able to see it. Let me see here.
You're going to do it. You're going to make me put my glasses back on. See how you are, dude?
No, you don't even need to do that.
I do, because my screens ain't big enough. My big ones are already packed for the road.
Oh, yes. You're heading out on the road. Why don't you tell people what you're up to?
Well, we talked about that the other night when I was on with Marquise, but for those who weren't there, we're getting ready to go on an investigational trip. We're going to go UFO hunting.
Are you now?
Yes, sir. That's what we built this thing for. So it's time to put her back on the road.
Well, that is perfect. That is absolutely perfect. And I know you guys are going to do amazing and have a lot of fun out on the road. That is definitely for sure. And
we always have fun, but we found out, Dave, that what makes it successful for us is to have just real no baloney, uh, either contactees or experiencers or abductees. More of those people that we have actually with us. You guys seem, or we seem, I should say, because I can include myself in that, to be. I don't know if it's because our intent is there, or if we're just kind of like magnetically attracted, like some people are to lightning or something. I'm not sure, but we found out that if the more experiences we have, the more things we see.
Mm-hmm. I want to share some things with you, and I apologize if the audio cut in here. But as you know, you're going to be meeting up with little Timmy Senor, our
Mhm.
resident Timbit.
Mhm.
And Tim just left my house today
Mhm.
after a weekend here. But look at this. Look at this. Where little Timmy Senor, for the first time, is having a Tim Hortons ice cap and some Timbits.
You actually got him to drink coffee rather than tea.
Watch the screen. Here
Little
we go.
Timmy Senor about to take his first sip of a Tim Hortons ice cap. Hold on, what do we got there? Timbits for Tim.
Dude,
Here, Gus. This is the moment. It better be good. Here we go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is great. I like that it's right. The balance, they got everything. It's right. I mean, it's about as good a Tim as you can get.
Let's check out them Timmy bits
All right,
there.
let's take a look at the bits. You guys want to check out the bits? Here we go. Oh my Lord. Look at the mixture and wow.
What are you gonna do, Tim? Which one are you gonna try?
I'm gonna bury my face in one of these right here.
Give us a show. Bring it closer to you.
Here we go.
There you go.
It's pretty.
Let's do it. That's a honey glaze.
Honey glaze going in. Here it goes. Right in, all in one.
Oh, this was a good moment.
Oh, it's old school.
It is old school.
Not too
I'm about
chewy.
ready to fall out of
Kinda
my
melted.
chair, Dave.
Uh-huh.
I know.
It's not too sweet, but the balance is perfect. This is it. Mm-hmm.
There's
I give
Merle.
up.
There's
I give
Merle.
up.
We have a second American.
Hi, Rich. Check this out.
Oh, I love doing that. I love doing it. Little Timmy Senor getting his first ice cap and first Timbit in Canada. Oh, that
So-
felt
Just prior to him flying up to where you're at, he was here at the house, and one of the things that he brought for me to pack in the RV.
there you go. You always need some iced tea, man.
No, that's basically all the guy drinks, and to see him eat anything sweet like that that's blowing my mind, dude.
Oh yeah, he enjoyed it. Totally enjoyed it. You know, so for our audience, Tim Senor, we call him Timbits around here, and up here, our coffee chain is Tim Hortons. So I told Tim when he got up here finally that I was going to treat him to some Timbits and one of the greatest beverages ever, a Tim Hortons ice cap.
See,
Yep.
you threw in finally with Tim. Imagine doing the logistics for him for a trip like the one that we're doing right now. It's, dude, I'm still doing paperwork, and we're leaving tomorrow.
Oh yeah, we had a good time though. Terry, you being up here would have made it just even more perfect.
Next time, my passport, from what I understand, has been thumbed up, and it should be on its way. That's what I'm waiting for. Now we'll just have to see if Canada will let me come into the country or not.
Oh, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will.
They're going to say you're one of those hall boys. Oh, I don't think so. We've got records of you guys back on the and well, never mind.
Yeah, that we took that right before we headed into the forest on night number 1. And let's just say that I promise that, I mean, with what you're doing with Tim and what I'm doing with Tim, people don't know that Tim is a very, very, he's not just our UFO guy. He is a very, very connected and fantastic filmmaker.
Yes.
And so
Thanks, Dogface.
kudos to Tim for the hard work he's putting in on everything. But we should get some UFOs here.
Yeah.
We really should. I mean, we have the hearings coming up. What did you think of the choices of speakers? Let me reiterate. For former Commander David Fravor, Ryan Graves, former captain in the U.S. Air Force, and David Grush.
They're starting to get warm. They're heading in the right direction. I mean, out of the 3, the only one who's a actual firsthand witness, of course, is Commander Fravor. David is still kind of a 50-50 kind of thing, but with as hard as he's been vetted in Washington, I don't think that we're going to get any stamps of disapproval. I just don't feel that. I think that he's telling the truth, at least as much of the truth as he can. But they're heading the right way. They're starting to think more, at least I'm hoping so, as they're starting to think more about people who've actually, if not had hands on or been, right there at the moment, then someone who has experienced this from a distance, or just they're going more towards experiencers, people who are these trained observers, the best trained observers in the world. Excuse me.
I get that, but for me, and I'm curious your opinion, we've already heard Graves' story. We've already heard Fravor's story. We're still new to learning everything that David Grush knows. Is it really breaking news? Because we don't know what else that Ryan Graves or David Fravor could tell us that they have already in the last 5 years.
And see, the thing is, Representative Burchett and that young lady, I can't ever remember her name, in Florida. When they went to the Air Force base there and they said they were denied access, what I understood later on was there was actually 2 hearings or 2 different discussions that day. One was classified and one wasn't. Neither Burchett or his companion had clearance for the classified briefing. So, but I have heard that they are getting pushed back. The Congress, the congressional members are getting pushed back by the alphabet agencies. So we still have that kind of 50-50 thing. And how hard is Congress going to push to actually get the information that they're seeking?
Well, there is kind of a breaking news on that, from earlier today, where the Pentagon was blocking lawmakers from UFO data ahead of this hearing.
Right. And that's where I was getting at with how hard is Congress going to push on this to get the door open. Look, there's either a secret that needs to be told and needs to be disclosed, or there's not. And I mean, it's a yes or a no question. If it's a yes question, then how much of a yes can the briefing or the meetings that are going to be coming up, how much of a yes can yes be? How much can they disclose in an open session, and how much are they going to disclose in the classified briefings?
That's exactly right. And the problem is, I think Burchett is going to get himself in a lot of trouble here, Terry, coming up, because of fact, like I stated earlier with Walter Bosley, this is a man who's been extremely vocal about proper disclosure, but now he's on the hot seat. If he fails at this and gets nothing, which we're already starting to see with I'm going to call them, and I mean this with all due respect to Ryan Graves and Commander Fravor, lame duck witnesses. Heard their stories already many a times. And
we have, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the members in the congressional and Congress have.
But they're out there. They're already public.
Yeah.
Right. That's the point I'm getting at. All right.
Well, are they going to be like, I'm sure you're aware of something that happened. I believe it was day before yesterday. And it involved Lou Elizondo, Danny Sheehan, and the other fella.
Sean Cahill.
Yeah. And there's now a new rumor going around, and it seems that there's video evidence to back it up, that when Lou Elizondo said that he wanted to dismantle the UFO community,
Yes.
that he was giving it a pretty good effort. Now, I would rather have someone like David Fravor than Lou Elizondo. But, and this goes back to what you're doing and what I'm doing and what people like us are doing. I don't think they're going to get what they're looking for with the people that and I don't know if they're doing it on purpose or not, though, Dave. They're not going to get what they're looking for until they start pulling folks like us in and talking to the people that this is happening to on a repetitive basis. What do you think about that?
I think that they have to bring something new to the table. I think Tim Burchett could lose a lot of credibility within Washington, within his own constituency, if he fails to produce anything of nature regarding this. Hearing the Tic Tac story or the Cube story again isn't going to help the cause. And the sad part about it is we're probably going to hear that again on the public side of the discussion.
Yeah.
All right. It's a waste of, I don't.
Is it a waste of time, or do you think they're
think
just trying to get everybody up to speed on what has pushed this to this point?
They should already be up to speed. You don't go to a football game looking for the first quarter in the fourth quarter.
Well, true. That's
right?
true. Yeah.
So this is where I'm confused over why these gentlemen were chosen. I'm not saying they're bad choices. I'm saying they're lame duck choices. Well, 2 of the 3 are lame duck choices because we've advanced the conversation so far beyond the Tic Tac movement 6 years ago that we're killing the momentum. And I don't see how or what that Ryan Graves or David Fravor can bring any more to the conversation. Much like I don't know what David Grush can bring to the conversation after he unloaded 7 hours of information to Ross Coulthard. This is where I'm confused. And we're going to continue that talk and more when we return on the UFO Report. Terry Hall filling in for the out-of-town Little Timmy Senor, our resident Timbit, probably in Abbotsford, British Columbia by now. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this.
Yeah,
I will
you
tell
know how
this.
You know how
I was,
Tim is keeping things close to the chest and
yeah.
that kind of thing. Um, he hasn't disclosed very much about what happened up there, but he's told me enough, man. He's told me enough. We're gonna have some good campfire stories. I from what I understand.
Tim absolutely fell in love up here.
Well, so did I when I saw pictures of your house, dude. That
Well,
is a monstrous grandfather clock you have.
I don't have a grandfather clock. It's just little. It's Mrs. SOR's.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, but I saw that and I looked at it. I'm like, wait a minute. Holy smoke, that's a grandfather clock. The thing is huge, dude.
I don't know. That's not. I honestly don't have a grandfather clock in my house. There's an old
It's
clock in my house.
it's
That's
wherever
on a
you
shelf.
guys were, where there was a bearskin rug on the floor.
Oh no, that's in the museum.
Oh,
That was taken in the museum.
okay. That
Yeah,
makes more sense. That makes more sense. So what were
yeah.
you going to say, Dave? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, man.
Tim fell in love with it up here. Like he just couldn't believe like everything that I have stated about where I live.
Hmm.
He's like, dude, you weren't BSing, man. He goes, we are on top of the mountains, and you know,
That's why I think you'd like it where I'm at here, Dave, because it's really similar to where you're at, except for we don't have like the -0 temperatures all the freaking time in the winter.
oh, I hear you. I
But
hear you.
there's plenty of pine trees and green and the lakes. I mean, the river's right across the street, and I think you'd be happy here. No, I mean you'd be thinking about Vegas all the time or Reno, but yeah,
Probably.
you could live in Oregon. It's just like Canada, except for we don't have the snow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
We'd
people
have,
don't say eh. You know what I mean, eh?
I don't know what you mean.
East Coasters.
Oh, I hear you there.
Time for a beer, eh?
Yeah, it was tough to say goodbye today. Yeah, it really was.
Well, I'm glad that you guys were able to be as productive as you were. And it was actually kind of nice for everybody to be up there and get the machine oil started to run, uh, with Tim's cohorts that he brought up there with him.
Oh yeah,
So
they're great.
you kind of started you guys kind of started it already, and it makes it a little bit easier on me because now I've got to get down and with all the people that are coming to this thing. On our first destination, we're not really going to pull out a whole lot of gear. We're just going to kind of soak up each other's company and start working together and see how it's going to go.
Right?
Yeah.
I think it's great. I really do. I just wish I could be more specific.
I wish you could have came back with him and come with us on this one.
Oh, I know. Philip Blair, what is in Abbotsford, British Columbia? Well, number one, that's my old hometown. But number two, that's the airport that Tim is flying out of. So that's where he is right now. Flies out at like 5 in the morning, 4:55 in the morning, something like that. Lance Coles, how you doing? Yeah. It's good times, my friend. It's good times. Merle! Oh, there he is.
Hey,
Oh.
Merle! Woo!
Oh, Merle and Timbit and the crew are listening right now. Merle,
The paranormal road tripper.
I don't know. I don't know if you heard or not, but I played the video of Timbit's eating his first Timbit and taking his first sip of an ice cap. I played that video.
You need to send that to his significant other, because the only other place I've ever seen Tim drink coffee is there's one place in Vernal, Utah, and dude, they make the absolute I mean, it's the best coffee I've ever had anywhere in the world. No kidding. In Vernal, Utah. And it's the only other place I've ever seen Tim drink a flavored coffee was in Vernal.
All right, hold on right there. We're going to say thank you to all of our super chatters tonight. Thank you for everybody murling it up in the chat room. And here we go with the next half hour. Hi, Jan. How are you? We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with the UFO report, filling in for our resident Timbit, little Timmy Senor. We have Terry Hall, and Terry, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Dave. I appreciate it. Well, I got to add one last thing to that, though. Look, everybody, your mom and dad, when you were young, or if you were in a single parent household, they taught you how to share. So don't be selfish. Share this too with your friends and family. Hit that share button. Share it around.
All right, perfect. All right. We were talking about right before the break about the upcoming UFO hearings. What happens, Terry, in your opinion, if these hearings are a complete failure? Okay, or it's another nothing burger where we maybe get a little tidbit that maybe the statistics of sightings have gone up by a smidgen. But if this is a failure, what does this say about the credibility of Tim Burchett?
You know, it's not really just Burchett. It's Rubio and really all of them. And I don't know if it boils down to credibility or not, or if it's going to boil down to the simple fact that we're actually going to need to start to heed Ike's warning on his farewell address about the military-industrial complex and its power that it asserts over the government. Our government is supposed to be separate from from the church and any military state type things. They're not supposed to run our government. But it boils back down to when my father and his brothers and the like, they had faith in our government. When they voted, they had faith that they were going to do what was in the best interest of the people. That faith is gone now. And this whole disclosure thing, is that in a nutshell. It's all of it in a nutshell. People are paying attention. More and more people are paying attention to this. And it's not so much for, oh my goodness, we're not alone. It's for, is the government actually going to come off this stuff and do what's best for us or not? And if they don't, I think that they're going to see a lot more problems arise from it than if they just went ahead and opened up every door they had and said, take a look and do what you want with it.
I'm curious what you think about the comments from Representative Denver Riggleman. Okay. And he has come out and stated on Twitter, before I go to bed, I want to stick my finger in the fantasy light socket. There might be no bigger waste of time and taxpayer money than a congressional hearing on UFOs, and no one will be abducted by extraterrestrials tonight.
And there we go with the old guard. You've got that, which boils back down to the ridicule that we've suffered for nearly 100 years now. You've got the religious zealots who ascribe this to demons. You have the military industrial complex that, oh, this is another enemy that we have to fight, which we've been warned of. I mean, even von Braun, that was what he told Carol Rosen, that first we'd fight regular wars, then we'd have a world war. Once we figured that out, we'd fight something that didn't have an end, like a word, terrorism. We've done that already. And then von Braun said, after that, the only thing left is enemies from out there. So are they going to try to do that? I mean, is the reason why they're coming out and saying there's something bad behind this? Even Bryce Zabel said that the other night. We're all kind of afraid because they're saying that there's some bad news that's involved with this disclosure thing. Are they going to really try to do the enemy thing again? I'm not saying that all aliens are our buddy or our friends or believe in the prime directive and seen Star Trek and they're not going to bother us because we're, one step above a chimpanzee. But it's the direction that they're going to take with it that's concerning me about it. That's the real concern for me. And I think that if this ends up being a go nowhere, do nothing, zero flop, and they try to stuff all the toothpaste back into the tube, that the only thing left for us is for us to get the empirical evidence that's so desperately needed and march it to Washington ourselves. It may fall on the public to bring the kind of evidence that's necessary to open the doors.
Could be. Could very well be, my friend. But it's just a matter of, I think this could very much hurt Tim Burchett's reputation. And more so, I worry about the effects that it's going to have on the community, the UFO community, which may be small but very tight-knit. They want what's best for each other for the most part. And sure, there's going to be the podcasts and the YouTube channels that come out with their I Told You So shows for the remainder of the week and the week after that. But I just think that if Tim Burchett fails at this, he needs to go away. He needs to shut up from the subject. Your thoughts?
Well, being that it's a nonpartisan concern, you've got people like Chuck Schumer coming forward on this, Rubio, and the rest of those guys. If they're going to shut the door on this, are they going to? Do you want them to shut the door on the UFO office there in Washington as well?
I think we are better off in ufology with letting people do their homework than we are having our homework told it doesn't exist.
Or what about, Dave? We've been doing homework for nearly 100 years, and we've never had a place to turn the homework in.
Maybe that's time from someone else.
So are we going to continue to do our homework and just sit on it like we have been for 70 or 80 years? Or should there be a place of maybe Stephen Bassett would have an idea on where to take this come next? I mean, he's been involved in Washington for like 2 decades now, maybe even 3. So maybe we should be turning to the Steve Bassetts that we still have there. And Steve's been true to heart. I mean, you had him on. You've had Steve on several times, and he stayed true to heart with this.
Yes.
So maybe if this doesn't work, maybe our next push would come from people like Steve Bassett. Maybe he needs to be given some keys and let him drive for a little while.
Oh man. Yeah, the problem is with Steve Bassett is he would make it completely a one-directional party on that. And he's so far hung up on what happened with Hillary Clinton losing in 2015
Oh
that
my goodness, I
he's still
know.
not over that. He's still
Well,
not over.
I tell you what, I've got an idea. We could turn Grant Cameron loose on him, and he would never let him get a word in edgewise. He could just talk him right into the floor. And he would do just like the rest of us. They'd all be sitting there spellbound, waiting for Grant to catch a breath. I keep waiting for that guy to turn blue and fall over. He talks so fast.
Oh,
But
I hear you there.
boss, when it comes to these hearings, we've been so let down with what has happened up to now that, unless and they've even said this, they said that these guys don't come forward and speak unless there's a fire behind them driving them forward. Well, we've either got to pray that the house is burned down and they don't have anywhere to go, or that, it's just going to be another zero and we're left holding the bag yet again. Are they doing this because of what's going on in the world right now, and they're trying to kind of look over here while we're doing the important stuff? Is it one of those things? I don't think that's what it is. I think that there's a real concern here, Dave, and the reason I'm saying that is there's too many things that are pushing this to be a concern. You and I both know that the Space Force has taken over most of what FEMA would do in an emergency situation such as this. They've been granted carte blanche to the things that the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard had. Now, if something like this happens, Space Force runs the show. They've taken over the ability to observe certain objects in our solar system and our galaxy, and of course, the universe itself. Used to be you'd be able to hide behind the moon. You can't do that anymore. The only other place left to hide is behind the sun. Well, you can't look through a helioscopic telescope right now. One worth a darn anyway, because the Space Force is running all of them.
That's right.
So is something going to be parking in our upper atmosphere that they just can't avoid anymore? Is that what's going to happen? I really don't feel that it's going to be an Independence Day type thing.
Let me ask you, who would be your 3 picks to meet with Tim Burchett?
You.
Oh, stop.
No, I'm dead serious on that. You. I would say Richard Dolan, for the simple reason of his orating skills. Richard can hold you and make things interesting. And then I would like to throw somebody in the mix, like if we could prove his story was real 100%, Bob Lazar or a Travis Walton or a guy that's near and dear to all of our hearts, Random Guy. Throw him in there in the mix. Well, I think what we could do is, if we could find out if they found out where some of this tech is, if we could catch the people that work in the fringes, like on all military bases, you've got people that do certain jobs that allow them carte blanche to the entire base. They can go anywhere, and it's part of their job. Rather than having the specialists that do those jobs who are behind the NDAs and can't speak, get the general people that have seen it all of it, not the compartmentalized kind of things, but all of it, and bring those kind of people in. and let them talk. We need to get the people forward who can prove this either by by film, by hook or by crook. We just need people in there who can prove that this is going on and ask the simple question of if they are coming here, A, why are they coming here? B, where are they going to when they get here? And C, who's driving the stupid things?
Bingo. That's my point right there. Who's driving them? Where are they coming from?
Yep. And if they are coming from, if it's interdimensional, fantastic. That's all great new physics for us. If they are coming from another star system, fantastic, because the second question out of your mouth should be who's driving it and what's driving it.
Yes, I agree.
We had a discussion one time about Lazar when they coined element 115. And we were talking about, it was a later discovery on a periodic table. But I made the point at that time that they could have called that whatever they wanted to. It could have been element 295. But I think to make it relatable, they called it element 115 so people could kind of get an idea of what it would do. What's the element that they use? Is it something like dark matter that we're trying to figure out? I mean, there's so many questions that goes along with this, but the main one is the big three. Who are they? What do they want? And how did they get here?
That is the $1 million question, Terry. As we got about 4 minutes to go here before we have to say goodnight to you and the rest of the crew here.
Who would be your picks?
My picks, I said them earlier. I'd like General McCaslin.
Mhm.
I think he has a lot to say on this subject. I'd like Lou Elizondo because I think Lou has a lot more to offer, including his own experiences that he's never talked about. I think that would be wonderful. And who's my third again? Who was I forget who my third was. Oh, well, I'll pick another one because I have the power to do that. I do. I have the power to do that. I would like to see a scientist up there like Gary Nolan or Eric Davis. Would be good. That'd be kind of wonderful. A little bit different each time, my man. And, when you have those different talents, it opens the discussion up way more than where we are right now.
Yeah.
Way more.
Well, we could always send Mick West or Michael Schumer.
Good old Michael Schumer.
Let's send Joe Rogan. There we go.
Well, little Timmy Sedore's on the road quite a bit. Let's send him over.
There we go. The adventures of Tim and his lackey, me.
No, that's great. That's great. Quickly here, before we let you go, we all know that Twitter and the social media crowd is going to go nuts after the hearings. Yeah. What do you expect, or how do you expect the podcast audience to react to this?
Remains to be seen, but I do know this is another thing that's kind of thrown out that's like right in our face and nobody's paying attention to it. Hollywood's on strike. So social media is king right now. This is where we're going to be getting all the new information from. We're not going to be getting it from Hollywood, at least not for a while. And I've heard that the production houses in Hollywood are willing to let it go for as long. I mean, they don't care if the stars end up homeless, as far as I know, for a variety of different reasons. But we've got to be careful on social media. Let's not jump the gun like we do so often, and just let it play out. I'm going to be on the road for the next couple of days. Of course, I will have the hearings playing in my ear as I'm going. But I hope that we just don't end up with a he said, she said kind of thing going on in the UFO community where it just is more damaging than it is beneficial.
That'll be very interesting, and I hope the tough talk actually pays off. I really do. For me, that is one of the big ones that I want to see. I think Tim Burchett has hit all the right chords regarding this subject on whether or not I vote for him. I just hope that whatever he said, he sticks through.
So you can be a voter, Dave.
Well, I do vote up here. And Lord knows I can't wait for our next federal election, but that's an entire different story right there. Once again, Terry Hall, thank you so much for filling in for our good buddy Tim Senor here tonight on the UFO Report. It's been
always a pleasure.
Bunch of fun there.
Always a pleasure, Dave. I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate you. I'm glad you're back.
Yeah, and me too, man. Me too. I'll battle the lack of sleep here. Trust me, it was a lack of sleep with what we were doing. But
as we both know, the chat room is scrolling down here on the side of my screen like it probably is on yours, and we appreciate each and every one of you guys. Absolutely. Without you guys, there wouldn't be a Spaced Out Radio.
That is absolutely a great way to close out the show right there, Terry, my man. You take care of that power stash. I'd appreciate that. And I want to say a big thank you to Walter Bosley for coming on in and making a great show happen tonight with us. Thank you, Walter, for your great knowledge.
He was a great guest, by the way. Good
we
show.
got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SMR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. To our YouTube audience, I really do apologize. I'm extremely tired, overly tired. Like I said, we filmed until 1 o'clock yesterday morning. I was up till 2:30, and then I had to get up for work this morning. So I'm going to try and get this week as normalized as possible, but please forgive me. I am going to shut down the feed right now because I do have to get to bed, because I am like a zombie right now, and I know you guys understand. But I'll see you all tomorrow, okay? Terry, thank you again, okay?
healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.